Emma had been driving for hours. It was supposed to be an easy trip, just a long stretch of highway through West Texas, heading home for break. Her playlist had run out. The radio had faded into static long ago. Outside, the world was nothing but black sky and the pale silver line of the road under her headlights. She glanced at the clock on her dash, 12:42 a.m. She hadn't seen another car for over an hour. No lights ahead, no red taillights in the distance, nothing in the mirrors except darkness. Just her, the car, and the endless, empty highway. The landscape around her had vanished into night. No gas stations, no rest stops, no signs of life. She felt that strange loneliness that only hits you when you realize how small you are on these open roads. That's when she saw him. At first, she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. A dark shape ahead, barely visible in the glow of her high beams. A shadow standing in the middle of the highway. As she drew closer, her heart sank. No, it wasn't a trick. A man. He stood right in the center of her lane. His arms hung at his sides. He wasn't hitchhiking. He wasn't signaling for help. He was just standing there. Emma's mind raced. Is this some kind of setup? A carjacker? A man who needs help? She slowed down, hand hovering over her horn. The man didn't move. He didn't step aside. As her car rolled closer, the beam of the headlights lit him up. Tall, thin. His clothes were strange, baggy, dark, maybe old-fashioned. And his face didn't look right. Emma's breath caught. His mouth was stretched into a grin that was just a little too wide, like it hurt. But his eyes were empty. They didn't match the smile. They stared right through her, like he wasn't seeing her at all. She rolled her window down a crack, the desert night air rushing in. "Hey, are you okay?" she called out, voice trembling. No response. The man tilted his head slightly, like a curious animal. The grin stayed frozen in place. The longer she looked, the more wrong he seemed. His posture, his stillness, his utter lack of reaction. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. She looked around. No lights, no houses, no other cars. Just her and him in the middle of nowhere. Panic surged through her. She yanked the wheel to the right, tires bumping onto the dusty shoulder, and hit the gas. The car jerked forward, kicking up dust and gravel as she sped past him. For a split second, as she passed, she risked a glance in the rearview mirror. And that's when she saw it. The man, he had dropped to all fours, like some kind of animal, his long limbs bent at impossible angles, and he was running after her car, fast, faster than anyone should be able to move. His head was low, that same grin plastered across his face. Emma let out a choked scream, foot slamming the accelerator to the floor. The engine roared as the speedometer needle climbed. The car fishtailed slightly as she tore down the highway. She kept glancing at the mirror. For a few terrifying moments, he kept up, his pale face flickering in and out of the glow of her taillights. And then, he was gone. Just gone, as if he'd melted into the dark. Emma didn't stop driving. She kept going, heart racing, tears streaming down her face. She didn't dare pull over. Not until the sky began to lighten with dawn. And she finally reached a small gas station. Shaking, she stumbled inside, trying to explain what happened. The old man behind the counter listened silently, nodding slowly. "You're not the first to see him out there," he finally said. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Some folks say it's a spirit. Others say worse. You're lucky you kept going." Emma didn't argue. She never took that route again. Jared and his wife Lila had been on the road all day. What was supposed to be a fun fall getaway, a scenic drive through rural Pennsylvania, had turned into a tense, exhausting ordeal. They were lost. Jared hated to admit it, but after the GPS started glitching and Lila's cell signal vanished, they'd been guessing at every fork and turn. Each back road looked the same. Trees pressing in close, no streetlights, no houses, just woods. Dusk was settling fast. The trees cast long shadows across the cracked asphalt. Jared gripped the wheel tighter. Lila kept glancing at the map, frustration on her face. "We should have turned back an hour ago," she muttered. "I know," Jared said, jaw clenched. "Just let me think." That's when the van appeared. A white cargo van pulled out behind them at a curve. Jared noticed it right away in the mirror. Boxy, old, no logo, just plain white with dark tinted windows. "Finally, another car," Jared said, a little relieved. Maybe they weren't the only ones out here after all. But relief quickly turned to unease. The van stayed behind them, close, too close. Every curve, every turn Jared made, the van followed. Even when he deliberately took a random left down a narrower road, hoping to shake it, the van matched him. At first, Lila didn't notice, but after a few minutes, she looked up and frowned. "Why's that van on our tail?" she asked. He tapped the brakes, signaling with his hazards, and steered toward the shoulder, but the van didn't pass. It slowed too, staying right behind them. "Nope, nope, nope, nope," Jared muttered, heart racing. He slammed his foot down, tires spitting gravel as he surged forward. They sped down the winding road. The van stayed locked on them like a predator. No matter how sharp the turn or sudden the acceleration, it didn't fall behind. The sun had fully set now. The woods seemed to close in, the narrow road feeling more like a trap. Jared's hands were slick with sweat on the wheel. Lila was crying softly, clutching the door handle. "There's gotta be a town," Jared gasped, "somewhere up ahead." And then, like an answer to a prayer, lights. A small town appeared, like an oasis. Street lamps, a gas station, a diner. Jared didn't hesitate. He swerved into the gas station lot, tires squealing. He and Lila both twisted in their seats, searching for the van. Gone. No taillights, no engine noise, no sign of it pulling off or turning around. The clerk inside came out, drawn by the noise. Jared stumbled over, trying to explain in a rush of breathless words. "There was a van right behind us. It was chasing us for miles." The clerk looked at him, puzzled. "We didn't see any van, or your car, till just now. This road don't get much traffic this time of night." Jared scanned the quiet street. His heart refused to slow down. The van was gone, like it had never existed. Later, after calming down, Jared learned something unsettling. Locals whispered about that road. People had seen that van before. A few claimed it was a ghost vehicle, a remnant of some dark event from decades ago. Others thought it was something worse, but no one had ever seen it in town. Dave had been driving trucks for over 15 years. He liked the quiet of the night runs. Less traffic, fewer distractions. Just him, the road, and his thoughts. But there was one night on a lonely stretch of highway in Utah that changed how he felt about night driving forever. It was sometime after 2 a.m. The storm had started hours earlier. A slow drizzle at first, but it had turned into a steady downpour. The kind of rain that makes the world feel smaller, like you're the only person left in it. His windshield wipers fought to keep up, slapping back and forth as sheets of water blurred the road ahead. The only light came from his headlights, two pale beams barely cutting the darkness. Dave was tired but alert. He still had miles to go before the next stop, and that's when he saw her. A figure on the side of the road, illuminated by his high beams. A woman. She was barefoot, soaked to the bone, her long hair clinging to her face. She stood just beyond the shoulder, waving frantically. Dave's heart sank. He knew all the warnings about picking up hitchhikers, especially at night. But this wasn't some backpacker or drifter. This was a woman in distress, alone in the middle of nowhere, in the pouring rain. His conscience wouldn't let him drive by. He slowed down, flipping on his hazard lights, and brought the big rig to a stop a few yards past where she stood. He leaned over and opened the passenger door. "Get in. You'll freeze out there." She climbed up without a word. Water dripped from her clothes, pooling on the floor mat. She folded her hands in her lap and stared straight ahead, not meeting his gaze. Dave tried a friendly smile, though unease was creeping into his gut. "Everything okay, ma'am? Car trouble?" No answer. Her face was pale in the dashboard glow, and there was something off about her expression. Blank, hollow. Dave cleared his throat, trying again. "There's a rest stop about 20 miles up. We can call for help there." Still nothing. Not even a glance in his direction. The rain hammered the cab roof. The road stretched on, empty and endless. Dave focused on driving, but he kept stealing glances at her. The way she sat so still. The way she seemed to barely blink. A knot of fear started to form in his stomach. And then, she was gone. 1 second, she was there, silent and wet in the seat beside him. The next, nothing. The seat was empty. Dave's hands clenched the wheel. His foot eased off the accelerator. He blinked, shaken. His mind raced, trying to make sense of it. He hadn't stopped. The door hadn't opened. No sound, no movement. But the passenger seat was empty, except the floor mat was soaked, as if someone had been sitting there, dripping rainwater. The faint scent of wet earth and rain lingered in the cab. Dave kept driving, his heart pounding, his mind refusing to believe what had just happened. He didn't stop until the first glow of dawn broke over the horizon. When he finally pulled into a truck stop, he staggered inside, pale and shaken. The other drivers listened as he told the story, some nodding like they'd heard it before. "Lot of stories about that stretch of road," one old-timer said quietly. "They say a woman died out there, hit by a truck during a storm like this one, years ago. Folks say she still tries to hitch a ride, but she never makes it where she's going." Dave didn't argue. He just ordered coffee, black and scalding, and stared out at the rain. He never picked up a hitchhiker again. And on stormy nights, when the rain pounds the windshield and the wipers slap back and forth, he sometimes catches himself glancing at the empty seat beside him, just to make sure.